Vasco da Gama, born in Sines, Portugal around 1460 to a noble family. Little is known about his upbringing except that he was the third son of Estavo da Gama. Gama's father was commander of the fortress in Sines, in the southwestern pocket of Portugal. His father, Estavo da Gama, was a knight in the Duke of Viseu's court, and his mother was a noblewoman named Isabel Sodre. Vasco attended school in a larger village about 70 miles from Sines called Evora. He learned advanced mathematics and studied principles of navigation. These skills would make him an acceptable choice to lead an expedition to India. By 15, he became familiar with trading ships. By the age of 20, he was captain of a ship. In 1487, an important breakthrough was made by Bartholomew Diaz. Discovered the southern tip of Africa was rounded, the Cape of Good Hope. This journey was significant. It proved for the first time that the Atlantic and Indian Oceans were connected. The trip in turn sparked a renewed interest in seeking out a trade route into India. Prince Henry of Portugal, also called Prince Henry the Navigator, began Portugal's great age of exploration. From about 1419 until his death in 1460, he sent several sailing expeditions down the coast of Africa. In 1481, King John II of Portugal began sending expeditions to find a sea route around the southern shores of Africa. Many explorers made several attempts. It was Bartholomew Diaz who the first to round Africa to make it to the Indian Ocean in 1488. But he was forced to head back to Portugal before he could make it to India. When Manuel I became King of Portugal in 1495, he continued efforts to open a trade route to India by going around Africa. By the late 1490s, however, King Manuel wasn't just thinking about commercial opportunities as he set his sights on the east. Although other people were considered for the job, Manuel I finally chose 37-year-old Vasco da Gama for this task. His success in doing so proved to be one of more instrumental movements in history of navigation. He subsequently made 2 other voyages in India and was appointed as Portuguese viceroy in India in 1524.
Da Gama sailed from Lisbon on July 8, 1497, with a fleet of 4 vessels, 2 medium-sized 3-masted sailing ships, each about 120 tons, a 50-ton caravel, and a 200-ton store ship. With this fleet came 2 Arabic speakers and one who spoke several Bantu dialects. The fleet passed the Canary Islands on July 15th, and it arrived in the Cape Verde Islands on the 26th, and it remained into those islands until August 3rd. They then avoided the strong currents around the area on January 11th, 1498, the fleet anchored for 5 days near Mozambique in Africa. Later, on March 2nd, the fleet reached a nearby island in the country. The expedition soon reached Mombasa in Kenya on April 7th and dropped anchor at Malindi, also in Kenya, on April 14th. There, a Gujarati pilot who knew the route to Calicut on the southwest coast of India was taken aboard and sailed with the fleet. Soon Calicut was reached on May 20th. There he attempted to trade with the leader, but his gifts were seen as meaningless, and so he came back with relatively nothing. Da Gama left at the end of August. He then visited the Anjadiv Island near Goa before sailing for Malindi. On March 20th, the São Gabriel and Berrio rounded the Cape of Good Hope together, but a month later, they were impaired by a storm. The Berrio reached the Tagus River in Portugal on July 10th. The second voyage began when Manuel I dispatched the Portuguese navigator Pazo Alvares Cabral. Command of this fleet was then given to Da Gama, who in January 1502 received the title of admiral. Da Gama now commanded 10 ships and was escorted by 2 flotillas of 5 ships. In February 1502, the fleet called at Cape Verde. Calling briefly at Mozambique, the Portuguese expedition sailed to Kilwa in what is now Tanzania. Da Da Gama threatened to burn Kilwa down if its leader did not submit to the Portuguese and recognize the king as their only leader. After several days, an Arab ship arrived with merchandise, and between 200 and 400 passengers, including women and children. After seizing the cargo, Da Gama shut up the passengers aboard the ship and burned it to the sea. The fleet sailed to Calicut with the aim of wrecking its trade and punishing the leader. Soon, Da Gama bombarded the port and seized it, and he also massacred 38 citizens. On February 20th, 1503, the fleet left Cananor for Mozambique on the first stage of the return voyage, finally reaching Portugal on October 11th.
You could stop at 5 or 6 ports, or just one.
Nice.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, there. How are you?
Yeah. You want this chair? No, I don't want your chair.
But I want the chair! Take the chair!
You can murder one Indian, or 38.
I know.
No, please.
When it comes to Vasco da Gama's later years, little facts are known specifically based off of his return home and the reception that followed. However, it has been speculated that da Gama felt miffed at the recognition for his actions and exploits. At this point in his late life, Vasco was married and a father to 6 sons, where he eventually converted to a life of retirement with his family, been advising the Portuguese ruler on Indian affairs for the past 20 years. His wife's name was Catarina de Atade, and they had all lived peacefully in the town Evora. He continued to be in contact with King Manuel, and was named Count of Vidigueira in the year 1519. After the death of King Manuel, da Gama was asked to come back to India, and was then named Portuguese Viceroy of India by King John III in 1524. He then proceeded to arrive at Goa with the mission of attempting to eliminate the increasing corruption that had overcome the Portuguese government within India. That same year, Vasco da Gama died in the area known as Cochin, most likely due from overworking. His remains were sailed back to Portugal, where they were soon buried. Vasco da Gama's legacy has been impactful due to the fact that he was the first ever European to find an efficient ocean trading route to India. He succeeded where numerous explorers before him failed, and his discovery of this route assisted the Portuguese in establishing a colonial empire in Africa and Asia. This new ocean route allowed sailors to better avoid Arab trading hold in the Middle East and the Mediterranean. The easy access to spice routes boosted the economy. Overall, Vasco da Gama's voyages and explorations forever changed the world for the Europeans.
I didn't need allies. They disappointed me. Action.
Okay, I think we.
What's your
shot?
You are at the shot, and you are recording.
Yes, and jump up.